Hey there, crafty peeps, it's Rhonda from Rhonda World 365. I'm back with another video tutorial to show with you. This one is regarding the little ephemera pieces I made yesterday. And I shared them with the Junk Journal Junkies chat group. This is 1 and 2. So you can see they're 2 different sizes. I shared them with the Junk Journal Junkies chat group and the Junk Journal Junkies, etc. group, just to kind of show what I, been making. And then I said I would do a tutorial. So what we have here is I use these die cuts, this one for the smaller one, this one for the larger one. And I cut just my random scrap paper. Like I said, I'm trying to declutter my stash of scrap papers. I don't know if it's like 100% doing it, but I know that at least I'm using scrap and not brand new stuff to do this. So anyway, what you're looking at, that's what these are. These are the die cuts, the back portion, and then I have done some collage work, I should say, on it, and I've added these little pockets, the little trims. So I'm going to show you how I did that, and I've got one of each that's ready to go to show you. So with this large one, and what I have done is, that's another thing I do, is I usually take a piece of scrap paper, and that's what I use for my, that's what I use for, like, my Mod Podge and stuff like that, to put it down on if I need to. So you'll see how this goes. Anyway, so these two, I need to take this one and then this one, because this is relatively the same process for starters. And what I'm going to do is, let me look here, I got some of this, it's hemnal paper, and so all I'm doing is I'm going to tear off some pieces here, because that's where the texture for the back of it is going to be. And I don't need a lot of each one. I just need, that'll be good for that one, and then this will be good for that. So I save this stuff because I'm going to use it for something else, who knows what. And then I'm also going to take a part of, let me see where I've got a good piece of it here. No. All right, here we go. I'll just pull out a whole nother sheet. Okay, so this is actually, it's from a book that was written in French, and no, I cannot read French at all. I wish I could. I have zero commitment to actually learning it though yet, so that's on hold. Any kind of extracurricular learning right now. Anyway, the book is actually something my mom bought at a swap meet type of thing, and it just, I like using it because it kind of gives it a little bit of, extra interest, I guess is what I would say. So all I do is I go around each of the edges of the book piece, and I'm just inking those up just a little bit because I do want to give it an old vintagey feel, but I ink the edges of everything, just about everything, because I kind of feel like that finishes the piece. Now if you don't like inking edges, you don't got to. I'm going to tell you right now, before I had this, I would take like the little ones, let me see here, like little square ones, like this, or like this little guy here. Okay, there. Anyway, and I would just use those and go around the edges and ink and stuff, and that was before I bought the little blotty blotter thingy. Heck, I don't even know what it's called, so that's like how with it I am with stuff. And then I just would go around the edges with those. So if you don't have, the fancy tools or whatnot, not that this is fancy, like you could use probably a kitchen sponge or something, then you can go around the edges with them yourself, or you can just not if you'd rather not. It doesn't matter. That is up to you. I felt like it makes the edges look finished. And I also did that same thing here. Now the reason I did go around the edges here is because I did want to give it not necessarily a vintage vibe, but a stressed vibe, a worked vibe. Like, while it's still, this one especially, the pink, is still a bright color, I didn't want it to look like, you know, just bright and out of place. And these ones went with the ones I just finished. So then I went through, like I said, and inked all the edges of everything. And also the reason I inked the back is because you can choose how you want to use this piece. Now this piece could become a journaling card that has its own little pocket tuck spot and journaling, you know, secondary journaling card with it. Or it could be that you glue it down on a page and it's just a tuck spot, you know, in and of itself. So those ones are stuff you'll have to consider when you're doing this. Now this part first, I'm just gonna glue the backs. So I'm gonna add a little glue to both sets, and then I'm just gonna get my glue paintbrush here, dab that off, and all I'm gonna do is go ahead and squishy the back with the glue and drop it on there somewhere. That looks good. Same for this guy. And like I said before in my other video, I tend to be a messy crafter. Ooh, I'm moving my paper all around. So when you're messy like me, you don't really, you know, you don't really go with, oh, is this perfect? Is this not? So I do apologize if that stresses some of you out. I have some friends who are perfection nuts, and they need that, you know, that straight-laced one way to do it all the way, you know, type of order and semblance. But me, no, nope, nope. And I don't think my body would sustain that kind of order and semblance anyway. At least my mind would not. Mostly because it can't sustain the order and semblance if I were to instruct myself with anything anyway. So, here we go. Those are glued together. Oops. And popped on. And see how they just give it a little bit of background. Nothing perfect, nothing great. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I have this napkin that I have been using. So it is going to be all tore up and everything. But I've got two little areas that I want to plop down on here. Like this one right here. I want him to be, and I don't need it to be perfect. I want this section here. And then this one is nice and big. So I'm going to put that one onto here. Alright, let me get those out of the way. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to Mod Podge those down. And that is just going to give it this little extra back look. I could have, you know what the other thing is? I could have straightened, and I'll put a little bit more over here too. I could have straightened this, you know, made this all nice and straight laced with not putting anything on the back there and everything. But I kind of feel like since it is junk journal stuff, sometimes, like, I mean, I probably will make some of those nicely put together ones, but I kind of feel like if I just were to do that, and it's just, you know, it's just all the same background, it's very plain, it doesn't really speak on the level of like junk journaling. This gives it a little bit more interest, but you can certainly skip these steps if that's really not up your alley, or if you had like a picture book and you had a picture you'd rather put on here, you could have done that too. But I was going for, so what I've done here is I've Mod Podged this, I Mod Podged down, and then I threw the little napkin over it and Mod Podged again. Now, in order to Mod Podge napkins, if you don't know that already, all you have to do is you peel the backing off. And the first layer usually comes off real easy, but a trick I use for getting that second layer off, because there's usually 3 layers to a napkin, to get that second layer off so you get this really thin coating when you go to Mod Podge, I use washi tape, just a little tiny piece of washi tape. So that's great for any of those colors that you're like, this came in the pack, but I'm probably never going to use this piece of washi tape or this roll of washi tape. What do I do with it? That's what I do with it. Whenever I want to stick something down for die cutting, whenever I want to do the pull the backs off napkins, and you wouldn't believe it, it only lifts up the 1 layer. Don't have to worry about anything else. Alright, there we go. So those ones are good to go for a little bit, and I'm going to let them dry for a few. Now, one of the things that you could do if you're feeling like there's too much in the wording way and stuff like that, one of the things I do is sometimes I'll dry brush, or just real quick lightly brush some white over them. I know people use gesso and all that all the time, but I have used white paint for I don't know how long, and it's just white acrylic, nothing fancy Walmart paint, Craft Smart Walmart white paint, and it works just fine. You can write on it, and I'll prove that to you right now. This one's got some of it because there was a lot of writing there, and I was kind of just trying to draw that away from there. But anyway, a pen. See, you can write on that, no problem. Nothing happens. I wrote hello, if you can see that. Well, anyway, so then the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to get ready for those pockets. So here's pocket 1 and pocket 2. All these was I cut like a square, very simple, and then I cut it on a diagonal, and that's what the pocket's made of. Well, I also got these because I wanted to lace up the pockets like you saw for the originals. So here we are, and we're going to measure right about there. That looks good to me. Whatever. So I got me a sort of a square rectangle, and I'm just going to diagonal cut it. So I have one for you and one for you. Now let's do this. Yeah, that one's good in there. Okay. Anyway, and I got those. They're ready to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this on top of here. Not with like my quick dry tacky glue. I'm going to do it with a hot glue gun, so that I have less fuss right now. And I'm going to do 2 sides to begin with, like so. And of course it's holy, so you know that whenever you do glue on holy stuff, it comes out onto your fingers, of course. Okay, so we have a little extra there. As soon as I glue down this 3rd side, like so, la 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 la. Okay, ow, hot. And I'm dragging it away. Alright, then I just kind of trimmed up this little edge piecer and tossed them out the way. I'm going to do the same thing over here. And you can decide if you wanted to glue down you can even not add lace. I mean, you could just do, like I said, not adding the little back interest stuff, not adding the lace. You don't have to do any of that. I was kind of going for shabby chic looks here, because that was kind of where my mind has been for a couple, I don't know why. People have been asking me for shabby chic stuff, so I think that's where my brain has automatically gone. And that's just where I'm at. So that's kind of what led me to this. Well, anyway, so we've got those and they're ready. And then what I've done is I take this It's diamond wrap. I got it at the dollar store, and I'm, like I told you, I'm a messy crafter. I rip the back off because that's how I like to handle it. And this one is like a very light green. It's not like a green because I have a really pretty green too. It's not like that. It's like a light green because I was looking for something a little duller. So I've already cut them. And see, this one, like I said, it comes from the dollar store. You get a bit long line, and I just kind of measured it out, and I cut it, and then I cut into individual strands like you see here. And then all I'm going to do is run a glue line down there and drop him on like so. There we go. Woo. Let it dry. I've kind of touched it down, and when you do, sometimes like through the little holes, woo, the hot glue decides to stick and become very obnoxious. And one more line. There we go. There we go. I love it. You know what? That's not really thick enough. I get a little worried because sometimes when you're using hot glue and you do paper stuff, sometimes it's fantastic, and then other times it's like, ooh, you went too thin and it's gonna pop and it won't hold what you wanted it to hold. And so sometimes I get a little concerned. Okay, so that is, those are going to be ready to go when I want to put them on. Now, oh, well, look what we've done here. That's all right. My Rhonda World sheet is all battered up. It takes a beating, and so far it kept on kicking. There. It's got a little, ooh, it's got little scratches in it now. All right, that's all right. I'll do another one someday soon. Anyway, these are pretty good. They're nice and dry, no stickies. I take this. I'm gonna make, we need to make the little topper enders here, because this is just one layer, and if you tie stuff sometimes on the one layer, it's too thin, right? Well, to me it is. And so what I've done is I've hole punched these little scallops with my little scallop guy hole puncher, right? And I've made kind of a reinforcement for my toppers, for my lace toppers. Alright, so both of those are inked. I inked one earlier, and then I was like, oh, well, how does that tell people that that's what I did with all of it if I don't at least ink one in front of you? Because that's how my mind works. It thinks that if you didn't see it and you didn't see me do it, you might think I didn't do it, which is probably just ludicrous. But you never know. Okay. This one's a little bit longer than the last one, but there are some things that I did do to kind of stuff it up. Alright, and then I pop that one on right there, like that. See? And those are on there, they're on the edges, they reinforce, give it a little bit extra backing. And I'm just going to pop a hole in it. That's it. It's a regular hole puncher. You can get it in the stationery aisle at the dollar store. And it works just fine because that's all I'm going for, right? Except at the bottom here, I'm going to use my itty bitty baby hole puncher. This one makes a tiny little hole. Can you see that hole right there? This one? Yeah. Alright, so I'm making tiny holes in the bottom, right? Okay, well, with that tiny hole, I'm trying to put an eyelet into this. So what I need to do is I need to give it some slots, some less resistance. So that's what I'm doing here with my X-Acto knife. I'm going in all four directions, just giving it an extra little slice, because I don't have the next size up hole puncher that would make the exact right shape for eyelets, right? Okay, so this pink one, I'm going to give him a pink eyelet. And I don't even need this anymore. This is just, this can be garbage. And this, get this up here. This one I'm going to use green, and I don't think I left one out, so I'm going to grab green. And a long, long time ago, I bought this like pack of eyelets from Stampin' Up. And they have these pretty green ones, so that's what I was going to use for that. It looks silver like that when I put it out, but it is in fact green. I'll show you when I put it in. And this is just based on what I thought colors which matched. So green and pink. All right, and then, ooh, get over there. And now I've got to put a little board up here. This is my horribly abused cutting board. I bought this, you know, at, I think actually I bought this at Dollar General, this board. And I use it for all my crafting stuff. So it's got like colors on it. It's got everything on it. Like I have inked on it. I have done nail polish art with it. I've done a lot of weird stuff with this. But it's also wonderful as an absorption board. So I flip this over and I've got this little eyelet, what is this thing called? Oh my. It's a center tool. Anyway, and there you go. That eyelet is set. It's in there. And I'll set this one as well. It just gives it a little finished look. And it just keeps it, you know, so that it looks kind of nice and finished and pretty. Whether or not it's needed, that's another issue. If you didn't want to do that, you certainly do not have to. You could probably get away with just putting a little hole in it for what we're going to do. But I don't want it to rip as easily, and I also thought just it kind of looks cool. So that's where we are. And then what I've done, as you can see, is there's lace up top, there's a dangle down below. So on the dangles, what I have, I created these little word guys, right? And I did a whole sheet of them one day, and I put them all in this bag. And it's just a whole sheet full of pre-print, you know, pre-stamped out words, so they're ready to go, you know, at a moment's notice. And here's the other one there. Those are going to be my 2 words. I think that's fine. So then they're also going to be put onto these little bulby, oh, look, there's my other eyelet. Oh, well. Bulby safety pins, right? So what I wanted to do was give it some kind of backing and make it kind of look pretty. All I did for it was I wanted to put a little flower on each of them. So I'm going to put a flower here, let that dry for a second. I'm going to put a flower here and let that dry for a second. Oh, now I've reversed my words, so I guess that one's going to go over there and that one's going to go over here. Really don't matter. I mean, unless you had a specific hankering for which one went to what and what you were doing. I was just making some stuff pretty. So for me, either one sits just fine. Okay, so now I've got to get out. I've got my little buttons I've already pre-strung. I learned my lesson from last time. And I'm going to make a hole punch, probably right in the center of that flower or wherever I can get it, you know, about centered. Don't have to be perfect. Come on. Yeah, this one's going to be a brat. There we go. All right. And the other thing, the last part of the dangle is that there is these little charms, right? So actually, when you have it, the clip is going to sit so that the clasp is in the back. So that means I need to thread it backwards. For this one, I'm using the butterflies. As you can tell, the background was butterflies. So I use the butterfly, and then it's words, charm, and then I am using its buttons. And that's just to add a little, it's just to add a little effect. So this is the dangle that will be on that one. And all I'm doing to put a dangle on it is I thread the needle or the pokey part through and clasp it. That's it. And then I kind of bring it through and it hangs as a dangle. Perfect. Now this one. And for those of you that ever try to attempt those word charms, I just want to let you know that, oops, charm first, then words, then words, then buttons. Okay, so sorry. So for any of you that do attempt these words, you're never going to get everything perfect in perfect order for how you stamp your letters and stuff. Maybe if you're a real perfectionist and you're really working on it, but do not stress yourself. My letters do go in different spots and stuff, you know, like they move. They're not perfectly aligned, but that's part of crafting. It doesn't have to be perfect to look awesome. And nobody will really notice. That's the other thing I learned. Nobody will notice. Not positive anybody will care, but they definitely won't notice. So then I'm going to glue on these little, what do you call them? The little pocket or tuck spot or whatever you want to call it. So all I'm doing is on the V side without the little diamonds, I'm putting this quick dry glue. And oops, you're over here. And I just set it on at the bottom corner angle, press down, and it's set. That'll stick within a couple of seconds here. And then I'm going to do one more time for the other guy. And I am just, like I said, I'm messy. My fingers get into this glue. My fingers get into the ink. By the time I'm done with here, I always end up needing like a good scrubbing from the bathroom. So if you don't like that, you're going to have to probably not watch me too much. Not too closely anyway. The other option is you can use gloves if you like. I don't know to what degree that would work for you, but anyway. So there we go. Those pockets are on. They're drying, right? Well, now we have these little butterflies. And what I did was check this out. This is really ridiculous. But all the extra paper I had left over, and then there's still a bunch more. Ooh, that one's caught on some hot glue. Anyway, there's a bunch more over there, but I'm just going to give you the idea. Whenever I have extra paper, I've been making these butterflies so that, like, when it's too small to do a whole lot with, and I can't make, like, a little tag punch out of it or something, a lot of times I'll opt to make these butterflies. So that's what I've done here. Butterfly, and we'll just use that one, butterfly, right? Because they're just this little butterfly punch, nothing more than that. But they're actually quite versatile. They can be envelope closures, they can be little embellishments on a snippet roll, they could be a whole lot of things that you didn't even know. Now I'm going to tell you again, I might get some criticism on this, I don't know. I got this diamond sheet here. This one I got from Wish. In fact, most of my diamond sheets and most of my I'm not going to show you this basket. It's terrible. I will when I promise someday soon I will stop being lazy and I will fix the basket. But my organza ribbon is also from that. Ooh, I know we're running long here, so we're almost done. So I'm going to hurry this along. I just used 3. So I cut it on the 3. I used my X-Acto knife to cut it. And all I am doing is laying this little 3 set of jewels on the body of the butterfly. And I chose these brown ones for this particular one because I thought that kind of added an interest level, like along with the brown inking and whatnot. And then what I do is I did go around and I just kind of flicked the edges of the wings so they had a little bit of dusting on it because it kind of sharpens up all the edges. Instead of leaving them white and making them look plain, it sharpens up the edges, makes them look nice and crisp. Yeah, I get all of my diamond thingies, most of my diamond thingies on Wish. Because it's cheap, I'm sorry. It is. Alright, so then what I'm going to do is I got to add some fibers. So here's some fibers here and here's some here, right? And then I'm just going to trim off a piece for each. I'm going to do these pretty orange ones for our pink guy, and then I got this little tan fiber one that I'm going to do for our more settled tones over here. Okay, so big blob right there, that's it, that's all I'm doing. I'm super not getting fancy here, and I just kind of brush that onto there, and then I'm going to take my what do you call him here, my butterfly, and press him down. He is going to press down and make the fibers, the eyelash trim, eyelash fibers, whatever you want to call it, sit down into that glue better. And then he has his own little workings. And the same thing here. Dot the glue into the center. I'm going to drop and put those together. I'm going to drop the edges in, grab my little butterfly, and drop him on. There he is. And his little fibers are all over the place. Move him up a bit so we can cover up some of those fibers. They don't need to be that big, but they're fine. So that's all that I have to do for the pocket. The pockets are actually done. And then I have this one, and I have one more milk jug. And so for this guy, I chose to use these for the papers for the milk jug because I didn't have enough to make enough of them so that they were the same as the background. But this went along pretty well. They all get inked up, right? Inked like so. That's all I'm doing. And the backs get inked too because they are, in fact, a journaling card if you want it to be. Otherwise, it's just a cute little accessory. But since it is movable, they can use it for a journaling card when you put it in their book. And it's just cute and pretty. And this is, again, a punch that I have, a hole puncher. And I use it on my scraps as well because I make just tons of little, you know, little milk jug cards. Okay, so here we go. We got this one, and you know what? I'm missing a flower. Hold on. I need a flower. I need a pink or a red flower. So anyway, I got this big jar of flowers here for this color. I'm just gonna grab her out a red one because I want it to contrast a little with the color of the card. And I got this organza ribbon here, and I'm just gonna snip off a little batch of it. Alright, told you I was messy. So all she needs is to be folded over like so, and I am going to hot glue this because this is the fast stuff. Hot glue it down. I'm going to cover up that little edge with my cute little flower. Say you don't have these little paper flowers that I got, because I got them at a garage sale, so I got very lucky. But say you didn't have those. If you had like a little flower hole punch, or if you had a notion to like fold a flower on paper and make it, you could do all that. I got these brown ones over here. And that would be just as good. It wouldn't matter. The other thing is, say you don't have the ability to fold a paper and make a flower. Well, I mean, most people can cut a little heart. I mean, you could always do that. Whatever you want, heart, star, flower, whatever. All I'm doing is hiding the little rough edge for the organza ribbon topper. And the reasoning behind that is just because it looks more finished. That's it. No big secret. That gets tucked in. This one gets tucked in. Now, the only thing left to do is give it its little lace ends, and we are done. So I do have this one cut for him, and then I use little baggies to store my different colors in so that I kind of know what I'm working with. And this one has a multicolor. Oh, there we go. All right, thread it through. It's this simple. Swear I'm not doing anything fancy with this. It's a lot of effort to do too much fancy. Plus, we're on a lot of time here. 30 minutes, that's probably too long for you guys to even watch most of the time. I'm sorry about that, but I did want to make this as thorough as possible. So you can't say, oh, you didn't show us that. Because I always do that when I'm watching a video and I'm like, wait a minute, how did they get from there to there? I'm confused. Okay, so what I did was I folded those two pieces together, and I'll show you that without putting it onto the little card. If you fold the pieces together, the outside edge, the part where it opens up, I point that downward, and then at an angle, highest on the outside edge, lowest on the inside folded edge, cut downward. And that creates this little snake tongue thingy or whatever. So that is how I cut these. I do not always cut like that, but for this one, it just kind of looked cool to have it cut like that. And that is how it's cut. I don't know if you can, there you go. All right, and I'll put this one through, tie it off, and we will be done. These are the little, I would have called them a tuck spot dangle or something like that. But anyway, it's just a second build-up, or I mean a third, actually this is my third day in a row of build-ups. So it's just a little build-up thing with its own little tuck spot and its own little extra journaling card inside. And that is how I did it. This guy's charms. So that's them. Thank you, and tune in next time.